All right, so the purpose of this video is to go through kind of the first 8 of those problems that are in the back of your notes packet right after Learning Target 9. And so what I am going to do in this video is I'm going to find the slope, and it says just find the slope. I'm going to find the slope and the equation of each one of these, okay? Feel free to watch as much of this video or as little of this video as you want. If you kind of see a few and get the idea and then just want to try the rest, that's totally fine to just kind of skip the rest. But get what you need out of this video is kind of the purpose or the point I'm trying to make, I guess. To find the slope, we're always talking change in y over change in x. And so in the previous video, we called this y2, or we called that y1, x1, x2, y2. And so if we're finding the change in y, we're finding what happens between y1 and y2. So it'd be like y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which in this case is negative 15 minus negative 16 over negative 7 minus 19. Okay, and so if I do this, it's kind of complicated with the negatives, but it's really not too bad. We get 1 over negative 26. This then is the slope. So I found the slope. What we do now is try to find the y-intercept. And so to do that, what we know about the equation already is this negative 126. That's going to be times x plus b. All right. And so from this point, I need to find b because I need to find the y-intercept. And so what I'm going to do is just take one of these points, doesn't really matter which one, and plug it into here. So we're going to get, I'm going to put the negative 16 in for y. I'm going to put the 19 in for x plus b. Negative 1/26 is, as a decimal, like 0.0385. So I'm going to multiply that by 19 and get negative 16 equals negative 0.73, we'll round it, plus b. So I add negative 7.3 to negative 16. Add that on both sides, and I should get b is 15.27. So then going back to the equation, my final equation is just y equals negative 1 over 26x plus negative 15.27. And that's the final equation for this. The hard part is finding the b. And on this one, it was especially difficult because we have such a weird slope. Negative 1 over 26 is not a typical slope. All right, so that's what makes that one hard. In the next one here, to find the slope, and I'm going to go through this a little quicker this time, but to find the slope, we're going to do negative 19 minus negative 7, 1 minus negative 2, and get, let's see, negative 12 over positive 3, which is negative 4. All right, so we've got y equals negative 4x plus b. I'm going to plug in some values here, so we're going to go negative 19 equals negative 4 times 1 plus b. It looks like here negative 19 equals negative 4 plus b is going to equal negative 15. All right, so our equation then here is y equals negative 4x minus 15, or plus negative 15. All right. Number 3, similar process. We're going to go y minus the other y. And you've seen me do this both ways now. It really doesn't matter which way you do. If you do 7 minus -4 or -4 minus 7, you'll end up with the same thing either way. And so since I did 7 minus -4, I'm going to go -4 minus -6. That becomes 11 over 2, which is 5.5. So I know the slope is 5.5. And from that point, I'm just going to plug in one of these points. So we'll go 7 equals 5.5 x plus b. Oops, I didn't put an x. X is -4 plus b. So that ends up being 7 equals -22 plus b, and b must be 29. So we've got y equals 5.5 x plus 29. Okay. Over here, if we're looking at some y's, 16 minus 8 is 8. 9 minus 20 is -11. So our slope is -8 over 11. And you can kind of see like we're doing the same process over and over. We're doing the same steps. We're finding the slope, then we're finding the y-intercept by plugging in a point. And basically once you've got the steps, like once you know all the things you need to do, all it comes down to really is a matter of just doing them. And once you've done them a whole bunch of times, it becomes kind of second nature. And so if I plug in a point, I'm going to plug in 8 for y. And then we'll go 20 for x plus b. Let's see. I can't do this off the top of my head, so I can get a calculator real quick. 8 equals -8/11 is about 0.73, so we'll multiply that by 20. So we get 8 equals -14.5 plus b. So we're going to add 14.5 to both sides. b equals 22.5. So our equation then is -8 over 11 x plus 22.5. All right. Moving on, we get into a couple special cases here. If we just look at the slope, 8 minus -13 is 21. 17 minus 17 is 0. You can't divide by 0, so this is undefined. And this part I wouldn't necessarily expect you to get, but if you have an undefined slope, you know that's an x equals equation. And in both of these, we have a 17 for x, so the equation is just x equals 17. But again, that's something that is very conceptual, and I wouldn't necessarily expect you to figure that out. On the next one, the slope, I do expect you to be able to figure it out. 3 minus 3 over 20 minus 19 equals 0 over 1, which is a slope of 0. Okay. A slope of 0 means this is a y equals type of line. And we've got y equals 3 for both of those, so y equals 3 is our equation. All right. Down here at the bottom, we've got a change on the y. We've got a change of 15. And we've got a change from 3 to -11, which looks like -14. Oh, didn't mean to put an equals there. So this is now y equals 15 over -14 x plus b. I'm going to plug in this one because it's got a 0, and that's always easy. So we're going to get 0 equals 15 over -14 times 3. Which is -3.214. So b equals 3.214. The slope is 15 over -14. The y-intercept is 3.2. And the last one, 10 minus negative 2 over negative 11 minus 19. This becomes 12. That becomes negative 30. We can simplify that fraction all the way down to 2/5, negative 2/5. So our slope is negative 2/5 x. We're going to plug in some values here, so we're going to go 10 equals negative 2/5 times negative 11 plus b, and 11, that's 4.4. 10 minus 4.4 is 5.6. So we get a b of 5.6. Y equals negative 2/5 x plus 5.6. Now, a lot of these on here, the intention was not to actually have you calculate the equation. So a lot of the slopes on here are very difficult decimals or fractions. All right. I would say the only thing that does really is make the calculations more difficult. The understanding of the steps of how to do this is mostly what I'm concerned with, because if you understand those, you'll be able to do most of the types of questions that will be on the test, because the ones that will be on the test will not necessarily be this difficult of a fraction. Okay. If you still have questions, as always, feel free to ask me.